Netflix is moving into the ad-supported world. However, they needed a technology provider to sort of help them with being able to float ads over their videos. And so how did they approach that challenge? Well, they actually found a partner. They actually just inked a deal with Microsoft to provide them with the technology to support this new tier. And that's what we're going to cover in this video. So guys, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and of course, leave a meow in the chat. You're watching More Money. Let's get it. What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel, where the goal here is to help at least 1,000 people achieve financial independence much sooner. And this one is big because you guys know that if I were to pick one stock into the future, that stock would be Microsoft. I'm only just hoping that I can pick up this name at a lower price than what it's currently trading at, but I might be wishfully thinking. But this video is another reason why Microsoft will, I believe, dominate into the future. And this is what I mean by that. So you can see here, Netflix just partnered with Microsoft for its new advertising-backed option. And so Microsoft will supply technology and sales support for this Netflix initiative. And why is this happening? Why is Netflix offering sort of like a free or very low cost tier? Well, if you guys recall, just a couple of months ago, Netflix subscriber base actually went backwards, and this was the first time that it's gone backwards since 2004, I believe. And so the share price actually cratered, and I believe, and I haven't checked yet, but I believe that the share price is down over 50% year to date, or at least from the high. And so they are trying to revive the revenue growth capabilities of this organization, and so this is the direction that they're going to go. And so you can see that the Wall Street Journal did say that Netflix chose Microsoft to help the low cost, or in my opinion, potentially free advertising supported streaming plan, and Microsoft will supply the technology to facilitate the placement of video ads on Netflix. All ads served on Netflix will be available exclusively through Microsoft's platforms. And this is what I was referring to previously. Recall, Netflix began exploring an ad-supported offering following a declining subscriber base. So the company actually ended their first quarter with 200,000 fewer subscribers, and it says that it expects to lose 2 million more in the current quarter. So Netflix is really facing slowing revenue growth related particularly to stiffer competition. And this is kind of what I've always been saying about Netflix, even back when everybody was excited about investing in Netflix in those sort of like Orange is the New Black days. I always said in the streaming space, it's gonna get more competitive. Remember when sort of the internet was developing and we had Google Video, and then right away came YouTube, and YouTube crushed Google Video, and Google actually ended up just buying YouTube and started migrating the rest of its sort of video platform onto YouTube. But this happens all the time in the online space. And so I really believe that free will be the way to go. And the way that it'll end up working out is that you're not going to actually have ads. You'll have free, fully run movies, and in the movies themselves, there will be products. So for example, someone will be having a coffee, but the coffee will be branded McCafe coffee if McDonald's decides to take on that advertising, or the coffee cup might be branded Starbucks, or it might be branded Dunkin' Donuts or Tim Hortons or whatever, and it could be even localized. So what'll end up happening is it'll be programmatic advertising overlaid through TV platforms, and there will be non-invasive to the customer. So I believe that that's the direction that this is going. And so right now nobody's there, but I believe that the two major players in that space are Roku, and now Netflix is sort of joining in early. But I believe that the other players might actually be left behind unless they sort of offer sort of these free tier subscriptions as well. So Disney might have to do this as well, albeit Disney has specific content that they can leverage, which can cause users to subscribe, but other platforms may not necessarily be so lucky. And so I think at the end of this day, this all goes into an open sort of area, and just the people that own the content will get access to the advertising revenues for that content. But I believe that this will end up with it all converging into one sort of platform. Now, we're probably 15 years away from that, but I really believe that it'll just be, you open up the internet, you pick a piece of media that you want to watch, you watch that media, you'll be served these ads non-invasively, and the person that owns the content will get that advertising revenue. But I don't believe that there will be any platform that you sort of have to subscribe to in the future. So that's where I believe that this is going. But it is also the reason why I believe this industry is so hard to invest in. It's very hard to tell what 20 years from now is going to look like. And so going further into the details, a person familiar with Microsoft's week-long pitch to Netflix said that the tech company stressed one word: agnostic. So it looks like the reason why Netflix chose Microsoft is because Microsoft is not competing in streaming with Netflix. And I think that's really important to them. The other thing that I believe is important, and actually Microsoft talked about it in their press release about this deal, is that it's about security as well. So I believe Netflix is very happy with sort of like data privacy and data security for all parties. And that's why they're sort of trusting Microsoft as well. Now, Microsoft has long been a player in the online advertising business, due in part to its search engine Bing, and that's true, but it looks like its Xandr purchase is what gave Microsoft the technology necessary to become a contender for the Netflix deal. So that's very important. The other thing is Microsoft's vice president and vice chair Brad Smith currently sits on Netflix board, and so there's some high-level ties here. And Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, actually served on the board of Microsoft from 2007 to 2012. And the other thing is, Microsoft's CEO, Mr. Nadella, has personally been involved for more than a month in this initiative. And the article goes on to list a few more executives that were heavily involved in this. And so it looks like there's an all hands on deck to make sure that this is successful. And so that really speaks to how quickly Microsoft is able to pivot and become a leader in the technology space. And it's another reason why I really believe that Microsoft is my number one opportunity going into the next 10 or 15 years, but my only reservation is the current share price as a percentage of its valuation, which is why I've sort of been tiptoeing into this name. And this is what I mean when I say that this is an exceptional company. They are firing on all cylinders. So their productivity and business processes, that's their word, sort of Excel office suite type business, it's still growing at a pretty good clip, considering that a lot of these products are now sort of standards in the industry and should be slowing, but they're finding ways to create new sort of monetization opportunities even with these products. For example, just data analytics, Microsoft is doing a really good job in. Their cloud business, I don't have to speak much about this because everybody knows that Microsoft, the number 2 player in the cloud space, is just continuing to own it. They're really good at this. And then of course their personal computing space, it's still a big part of the overall pie, and it's growing at a relatively healthy clip. So overall, revenues have been growing in the low to mid double digits. And where do I think that they're expected to go in the future? Well, I'm expecting continued strong revenue growth as well as margin expansion in the cloud segment. So you can see that overall revenue growth, I'm forecasting in the low double digits area subsequent to 2027, and I'm forecasting in the mid double digits up until 2026. And the reason why that revenue growth is so high is you can see that their intelligent cloud platform is still expected to grow at a healthy clip. And so that's what's leading the charge. And I do believe that as that cloud segment continues to grow out, it's going to start commanding higher and higher margins. I think that there's upside to my valuation here. I'm predicting long-term margins of 45% in this segment, but I do believe that you can easily get up to 50%. And so there's a lot of sort of upside to my valuation here, but I'm just sort of remaining conservative. And so what does that mean for my valuation? Well, you can see that despite not trading under 50% of their intrinsic value, I expect that Microsoft will eventually become my largest portfolio position by the end of the year, even larger than Alibaba. I'm using a 22.5 times terminal multiple, which might actually be low, and they're currently valued at approximately $300 per share. The current share price is approximately $260 per share. So like I said, it's not a huge sort of discount to intrinsic value, but what I'm really hoping for is that the market continues to decline and they throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I'm watching this name. Once it gets to under 75%, I'm going to start building a larger position. Now, this is not a recommendation for you to do the same. I recommend you do your own research, but this is sort of what I'm seeing. I'm getting very excited for Microsoft. This Netflix deal is really just icing on the cake, but I think that the company overall is firing on all cylinders. I really like the direction that the company is going, and I really hope that I can participate in the growth of this company if the share price comes down to a point where I can get somewhat of a reasonable discount to intrinsic value, I'll take a 25% for this name. Now, how do you get access to that Microsoft model and all the other models that the Patreons get access to? Well, you can get access to that model and all the other models at that lower tier for the Patreon membership. And if you want to join us for an epic live presentation each month, my very best work is reserved for this call, and you can join us for that call at the upper tier of the Patreon membership. And I did just go over the fact that I believe Microsoft is the future, and in fact, I actually made a video that covered just that, and you can get access to that video right here.